Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. People often shit themselves when they die. Their muscles slack and their souls flutter free and everything else just slips out. For all the audience's love of death, the playwrights seldom mention it. When our hero breathes his last in his heroine's arms, they call no attention for the stain leaking across his tights, or how the stink makes her eyes water as she leans in for a farewell kiss. I mention this by way of warning, O my gentle friends, that your narrator shares no such restraint. And if the unpleasant realities of bloodshed turn your insides to water, be advised now that the pages in your hand speak of a girl who was to murder as maestros were to music, who did to happy ever afters what a saw blade does to skin. She's dead herself now. Words both the wicked and the just would have given an eye-teeth smile to hear. A republic in ashes behind her, a city of bridges and bones laid at the bottom of the sea by her hand. And yet I'm sure she'd still find a way to kill me if she knew I put these words to paper, helping me up and leave me for the hungry dark. But I think someone should at least try to separate her from the lies told about her, through her, by her. Someone who knew her true. A girl some called Pale Daughter, or Kingmaker, or Crow, but most often, nothing at all. A killer of killers whose tally of endings only the goddess and I truly know. And was she famous or infamous for it in the end? All this death? I confess I can never see the difference. But then, I've never seen things the way you have. Never truly lived in a world you call your own. Nor did she, really. I think that's why I loved her. Chapter 3. Hopeless. Something had followed her from that place. The place above the music where her father died. Something hungry. A blind grub consciousness dreaming of shoulders crowned with translucent wings. And she, who would give them. The little girl had slumped on a palatial bed in her mother's chambers, cheeks wet with tears. Her brother lay beside her, wrapped in swaddling, blinking with his big black eyes. The babe understood none of what was going on about him, too young to know his father had ended and all the world beside him. The little girl envied him. Their apartments sat high within the hollow of the second rib, ornate friezes carved into the walls of ancient grave bone. Looking out of the lead-light window, she could see the third and fifth ribs opposite, looming above the spine hundreds of feet below. Nevernight winds howled about the petrified towers, bringing cool in from the waters of the bay. Opulence stripped on the floor, or crushed velvet and artistry from the four corners of the Etruscan Republic. Moving metalwork sculpture from the Iron Collegium, million-stitched tapestries woven by the blind profiteers of Aan, chandelier of pure Dweimeri crystal. Servants moved in a storm of soft dresses and drying tears, and at the eye stood the Donna Corvair, bidding them move. Move for the love of Ea, move. The little girl had sat on the bed beside her brother. A black tomcat was pressed to her chest, purring softly. But he'd puffed up and spat when he saw a deeper shadow at the curtain's feet. Claws dug into his girl's hands. She dropped him into the path of oncoming maidservant, who fell with a shriek. Donna Corvair turned on her daughter, regal and furious. Mia Corvair, keep that wretched animal out from underfoot, or we'll leave it behind. As simple as that. We have her name. Mia. Captain Puddles isn't filthy, Mia had said almost to herself. The tomcat was, as you probably suspect, named for his fondness for urinating outside designated areas, a name that had been tolerated by her mother and met with uproarious approval by her dear departed father. A boy in his middling teens entered the room, red-faced from his dash up the stairs. Heraldry of the Familia Corvair was embroidered on his doublet, a black crow in flight against a red sky, crossed swords below. "Midonna, forgive me. Consul Sceva has demanded." Heavy footfalls stilled his tongue. The door swept aside and the room filled with men in snow-white armour, crimson plumes on their helms. Luminati, they were called, as you may recall. They reminded little Mia of her father. The biggest man she'd ever seen led them. Trimmed beard framing wolfish features, animal cunning twinkling in his eyes. Among the Luminati stood the beautiful consul with his black eyes and purple robes, the man who'd spoken, Death, and smiled as the claw fell away beneath her father's feet. Servants faded into the background, leaving Mia's mother as a solitary figure amid the sea of snow and blood. Tall and beautiful and utterly alone. Mia climbed off the bed and slipped to her mother's side and took her hand. "Donna Corvair." The consul covered his heart with the ring's studded fingers. "I offer condolences in this time of trial. May the ever-seeing keep you always in the light. Your generosity humbles me, Consul Sceva. May I bless you for your kindness. I am truly grieved, Midonna. Darius served for the Republic with distinction before his fall from grace. A public execution is always a tawdry affair. But what else is to be done with a general who marches against his own guild? Or the justicus who will have placed a crown upon that general's head?" The consul looked around the room, took in the servants, the luggage, the disarray. "You are leaving us?" "I take my husband's body to be buried at Crow's Nest, in the crypt of his familia." "Have you asked permission of Justicus Remus?" "I congratulate our new Justicus on his promotion." A glance at the wolfish one. "My husband's cloak fits him well. But why would I need him grant my passage?" "Oh, not permission to leave the city, Midonna. Permission to bury your Darius. I'm unsure if Justicus Remus wishes a traitor's corpse rotting in his basement." Realization dawned in the Donna's face. "You would not dare." "I?" Consul raised one sculpted eyebrow. "This is the will of the Senate, Donna Corvair. Justicus Remus has been rewarded your late husband's estates for uncovering his heinous plot against the Republic. Any loyal citizen would see it fitting tie." Murder gleamed in the Donna's eyes. She glanced at the loitering servants. "Leave us." The girls scuttled from the room, glancing at the Illuminati. Donna Corvair aimed a pointed stare at the consul. It seemed to Mia the man wavered in his certainty, yet finally he nodded to the wolfish one. "Await me outside, Justicus." The hulking Illuminati glanced at her mother, down to the girl, hands large enough to envelope her entire head with a twitch. The girl stared back. "Never flinch, never fear." "Luminus Invicta, Consul." Remus nodded to his men, and amid the synchronized trump-trump of heavy boots, the room found itself emptied of all but 3 people. Captain Puddles lurked under the bed, licking at dusty paws. The aforementioned something lingered yet beneath the curtains. The Donna Corvair's voice was fresh, sharpened knife into overripe fruit. What do you want, Julius? You know it full well, Elaine. I want what is mine. You have what is yours. Your hollow victory. Your precious republic. I trust it keeps you warm at night. Consul Julius looked down at Mia, his smile dark as bruises. Would you like to know it keeps me warm at night, little one? Do not look at her. Do not speak to... The slap whipped her head to one side. Dark hair flowing like tattered ribbons, and before Mia could blink, her mother had drawn a long grave-bone blade from her sleeve, its hilt crafted like a crow, with red amber eyes. Quick as silver, she pressed it to the consul's throat, his handprint on her face, twisted as she snarled. Touch me again and I'll cut your fucking throat, Horson. Skaver didn't flinch. You can drag the girl from the gutter, but never the gutter from the girl. He smiled with perfect teeth and glanced at Mia. But you know the price. But you know the price for your loved ones would pay if you pressed that blade any deeper. Your political allies have abandoned you. Romero, Julianis, Gracias. Even Florenti himself has fled God's grave. You are alone, my beauty. I am not your... Skaver slapped the stiletto away, sent it skittering across the floor to the shadow beneath the curtain. Stepping closer, his eyes narrowed. You should envy your dear Darius, Elaine. I showed him mercy. There will be no hangman's gift for you. Just an oubliette in the Philosopher's Stone, dark, lifetime law. And as you go blind in the black sweet mother time will lay claim to your beauty, your will, and your thin conviction you are anything more than Lycian shit wrapped in Idrian silk. Their lips were so close, they almost touched, eyes searching hers. But I will spare your family, Elaine. I'll spare them if you plead me for it. She's 10 years old, Julius. You wouldn't. Would I not? Know me so well, do you? Mia looked up at her mother, tears welling in her eyes. What is it you told me, Elaine? Ne dies, Lusa? Luz disa. Mother, Mia said, one word and your daughter will be safe, I swear it. Mother? Julius. Yes? There's a breed of arachnid known as the wellspring spider. The females are as black as true dark, and possessed of the most astonishing maternal instinct in the animal republic. Once impregnated, a female builds a larder, stocks it with corpses, then seals herself inside. If the nest is set ablaze, she'll burn to death rather than abandon it. If beset by a predator, she'll die defending her clutch. But so fierce is her refusal to leave her young, once her eggs are laid she won't move, and to hunt. And herein lies the wellspring's claim to the title of fiercest mother in the Republic. For once she's devoured all straws within her larder, the female begins devouring herself, one leg at a time, plucking her limbs from her thorax, eating only enough to sustain her vigil, ripping and chewing until only one leg remains, clinging to the silken treasure trove swelling beneath her. And when her babies hatch, spilling from the strands she so lovingly wrapped them inside, they partake, there and then, of their very first meal. The mother who bore them. I tell you now, gentle friend, and I vow it true, The fiercest wellspring spider in all the Republic had nothing, I say nothing, on a lion corvair. There in that oh-so-tiny room, Mia felt her mother's fist clench, pride tightening her jaw, and agony brightening her eyes. Please, the donor finally hissed, as if the word burned her. Spare her, Julius. A victorious smile, bright as all three suns. The beautiful consul backed away, black eyes never leaving her mother's. He calls as he reached the doorway, robes flowing about him like smoke, and without a word the Illuminati marched back into the room. The wolfish one tore Mira from her mother's skirts. Captain Puddles growled protest. Mia clutched the tom tightly, tears burning her eyes. Stop it! Stop! Don't touch my mother! Donna Cover, I bind you by book and chain for crimes of conspiracy and treason against the Idrian Republic. You will accompany us to the Philosopher's Stone. Irons were slapped around the Donna's wrists, screwed tight enough to make her wince. The wolfish one turned to the consul, glanced at Mia with a question in his eyes. The children. The consul glanced at little Donan, still wrapped in his swaddling on the bed. The baby's still at the breast. He can accompany his mother to the stone. And the girl. You promised, Julius. Donna Cover struggled in the Illuminati's grip. You swore. Sceva acted as if the woman had never spoken. He looked down at Mia, sobbing at the foot of the bed. Captain Puddles clutched to her thin chest. Did your mother ever teach you to swim, little one?